Welcome back to the Neutral Zone. Today we're going to be talking about the Auburn Tigers and their 2024 season as we continue along on 2024 college football preview series. Those of you guys who are not already, please subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single upload. Also, like the video, drop a comment, let us know what you think about our takes. Let us know what you think about Auburn. Obviously, we did Auburn last year, so we're going to briefly go over what our prediction was last year with Auburn. So last year, I picked 10 games correctly. My dad picked 9 correctly. I had a 6-6 record, so I guess the record spot on. My dad was one game short. The only game that I got wrong was the New Mexico State Mississippi State one, which I feel like is a good game to get wrong. They lost to New Mexico State at home by 21 points, which is crazy. So I'll live with that. I think I did a really good job. Even you, the only game you got wrong was the Arkansas game. Obviously,
I thought Arkansas would be a little bit better.
Yeah, I was really kind of low on them last year. I knew Arkansas wouldn't be that good, but I didn't think they were 38 points worse than Auburn last year. So that's pretty crazy. But again, just to break this down, if you see the text in green, that means we thought they were going to win the game. If it's in red, we thought they were going to lose. The check mark means we got it right. The X thinks that, or basically makes it seem like we got the game wrong. So that's how we kind of go through it there. But moving on, the 2024 Auburn projection. So they're ESPN ranked number 19 heading to the season, which is kind of high. But I think they're bringing back a lot of talent, had a good recruiting class. They're supposed to go 7-5, give or take, with almost a 1% chance to win the SEC. What do you think?
So if you guys remember what the last video we did, the Miami video, I think Miami was 23rd with Cam Ward and a bunch of talent. This 19 to me is crazy.
But wait. They're also projecting like who they're playing and stuff. So I think if Auburn and Miami played, it'd be a very good game. I think it'd be a very good game.
Okay. All right. I am shocked at the 19. I don't think this is the 19th best.
I do think that's high.
Returning to college football. Again, coming off 6-6. And as we get into this team and what they've lost and what they've gained, I don't see this as the 19th best team in college football.
All right. Well, let's get right into it. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, obviously, Peyton Thorne is the key returner, quarterback. But again, as we talk about them being 19th, this is a guy who threw for under 2,000 yards last year. He did throw for 16 touchdowns. They are bringing back Jarquez Hunter, 900-yard rusher, probably one of the stars of their offense returning. I know where they're getting a lot of the love, right? And a lot of the love is they did bring in a great receiving class. You see there, Cam Coleman, one of the top receivers, high school receivers, 5-star guy, Perry Thompson, again, very high ranked guy. And I suspect that both of them are going to get a lot of play, but it's hard for me when I look at a team like this to say that they're going to be good based off of some freshmen coming in. Again, not much throwing the ball last year at all. They had no receiver go over 400 yards. So obviously that means they had no receiver break 400 yards that's returning. This receiving core is going to be counting on these freshmen. Keandre Lambert-Smith, as you see from Penn State, did come over. Probably a key piece to that receiving game. Probably makes him a little bit better. Not a little bit better. Let me give him his credit. Makes him a lot better. I think Keandre Lambert-Smith was a very good receiver for Penn State. I'm concerned about him with Peyton Thorne because I don't think Peyton Thorne is a very good quarterback. So when I mix those two, I think his numbers go down. Again, I think Cam Coleman has the ability to be great, but it's not often that we see a freshman wide receiver be a true game breaker. I'm not going to say it never happens. Again, I'm an Ohio State fan. I hope it happens with Jeremiah Smith. But if I was relying on Jeremiah Smith to be my number one receiver or a key cog in our offense, I'd feel a little bit concerned. Fortunately, Ohio State has other players. The problem is Auburn doesn't have that same luxury. I am concerned about this team, and I'll be honest, I don't think they're returning enough to really compete at a high level, especially in next year's SEC. Next year's SEC is probably the greatest conference in the history of college football. I don't think Auburn's ready. What's your thoughts?
So we'll get into obviously the prediction. You brought up Keandre Lambert-Smith. Robert Lewis, I think he deserves some love as well. He had almost 900 yards, 7 touchdowns, albeit at a Georgia State smallest school. But we did see a guy like Jamari Thrash do it at Georgia State. I believe it was Georgia State, actually. And he went to Louisville, was a big piece of their success last year, and into the ACC title game. So I do think he can play a part. I'm not saying he's going to be, Devontae Smith at Alabama, but I think he can play a part. I think like you said, Cam Coleman's going to play a big part. Perry Thompson's going to play a big part. But I think Auburn's biggest Achilles heel is Peyton Thorne, like you said. You obviously bring over Walker White, who's a 4-star quarterback. I hope he is not the starter. I think Peyton Thorne is going to be the game manager type quarterback in the offense. He ran a lot as well last year. You do lose Javaris Johnson, who was their leading receiver last year.
You're talking about a guy under 400 yards.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying he has the most chemistry with Peyton Thorne. That's why I brought him up. And then obviously you lose 3 DBs. But I do think that they had a really good transfer portal. Obviously, Kendrick Lamar-Smith was the number 1 or number 2 guy. I'm pretty sure the number 1 guy at Penn State last year. Goes to Auburn. Obviously, I don't know why he went to Auburn, because Auburn's not a throwing team. So it's kind of weird there. I don't know why Auburn's getting all these wide receivers. So it's kind of weird as well. But again, I think they see a vision. They have a top 10 recruiting class. So I don't think this team is going to make the playoffs this year. I don't think they're going to, compete for an SEC title. But I definitely think that Auburn is on the rise. We could be in a situation where we view Auburn drastically differently in 2 to 3 seasons. And I would not be surprised based on the recruiting that we see now. And even last year, like I said, if we look at last year's schedule, you lose to a team like Ole Miss by 7, you lose to Alabama by 3. Obviously, you lost by 21 in Mexico State. I think that was a one-off type game. I think if they played in Mexico State again, they would win by probably 21. It's kind of a weird game there. Obviously, you lose to A&M by 17, and the LSU game, you got blown out. So I think when you just look at the games they lost, they were in a lot of these games. And I think this team is going to be better than they were last year. Other than the people they lost Javaris Johnson, but it's not like they're a pass-heavy team anyways. So I don't think that's a big deal. I would take Keandre Lambert-Smith over Javaris Johnson. I would probably take Cam Coleman over him, to be honest with you. And we haven't even seen him play. So I do think that the team brings back enough to be as good, if not a little bit better than they were last year. And again, last year they finished 6-6. Go ahead.
But to that point, and I don't disagree with your point, but what I will also say is the SEC is tougher than it was last year when you bring over a team like Oklahoma and Texas, right? This is not the same conference as last year. And so when I look at the conference, the landscape of the conference, I don't think they did enough to make up the delta for what the SEC is bringing next year as well.
So this year, let me see something. Yeah, the only pushback I'll give you for that is last year they played a lot of really good teams in the SEC. They played Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss. This year they don't play that many good teams. Obviously you play at Alabama, you play a Mizzou and a Georgia. I think every other game on this schedule is winnable, in my opinion. So I think their ceiling is at 10-2. I wouldn't be surprised if they beat a Kentucky, a Missouri, a Oklahoma. The only 2 games that I don't think they can win is Alabama and Georgia. And really then, I think they could beat an Alabama this year. It's a rivalry game. It's an Iron Bowl game. I think last year we saw them literally take the game down to the wire, the final play in the game. So I wouldn't be shocked. I don't think it'll be the end of the world if they won. Alabama has a lot of question marks. I have them going 8-4. I have them beating everybody except Oklahoma, Georgia, and Oklahoma, Georgia, Missouri, and Alabama. I have them beating A&M this year. So I do have them going 8-4 and being a little bit better, progressing a little bit from they did last year.
Yeah, so I think to your point, where I maybe could have moved their ceiling up one is I think that Alabama game, because of the level of rivalry, and we've seen it so much in that game specifically, where Auburn or Alabama, and Alabama much less than Auburn, can be having a bad year and still find a way to be in that game or win that game. Auburn should have won the game last year, and I think we both know they were substantially worse than Alabama, but they should have won that game. However, the middle of that schedule, you mentioned teams that you don't think they can beat, and you said Georgia and Alabama. Again, to JB's credit, I'm going to say I don't think there's any way they beat Missouri. With what Missouri's bringing back, I think to me that was I don't think they win this game. I'll be honest, I don't think they beat Oklahoma. I'd be surprising. Those are games that I would legitimately be shocked if they won. I'll give you, so when I made their ceiling, it was with Oklahoma, Georgia, Missouri, and Alabama as games that I would be shocked if Auburn won. Again, I can give some credence to the fact that the Alabama-Auburn game is a rivalry. That one I probably could have loosened up on a little bit and made that ceiling 9-3. But the other 3, I feel pretty confident that if you gave me a straight up bet, I'm taking those teams with full confidence and with a lot of money.
Yeah, I don't. So the Georgia, Missouri, Alabama game, I feel a lot more confident than Oklahoma. The reason why, I think I think college football home field advantage matters greatly. I think
Okay,
Oklahoma,
I agree with that.
we don't know what they're going to be this year. Obviously they lost a lot. They lost Dylan Gabriel,
Yeah,
for Pete's
they
sake. I
did.
mean, obviously he was everything. They have Jackson Arnold, obviously who's supposed to be really good. He did
5-star
not.
recruit.
Yeah, he did not look good in the bowl game though. I think
Right.
he threw 3 or 4 interceptions in the bowl game. I forget who they played. I think it was Arizona, if I'm not mistaken. And I would say Auburn's defense is supremely better than Arizona's defense is. Again, we had a lot of opt-outs last year in the bowl games. So
Yeah, but let me
it's
say
hard to say.
this. Let me say this. Peyton Thorne is much worse than Arizona's quarterback. Peyton Thorne is horrible, and I don't know if you watched him, but he is horrible.
He's horrible. Well, I'm not gonna say he's horrible because that's disrespectful. He's the D1 quarterback, but they don't throw the ball. They don't throw the ball like that. So I think Arizona's Noah Fafita obviously flings the ball over the place. I don't think Auburn's play style is not catered to that. So I don't think they're gonna have to beat an Oklahoma throwing the ball. To be honest with you, I think they're gonna be able to run the ball. And again, I have Oklahoma winning. I just don't think that it would be crazy if Auburn won the game. I mean, we saw Auburn in the game against Alabama,
So
and
you wouldn't be shocked?
I wouldn't be shocked if Auburn beat Oklahoma. I would be shocked if Auburn beat Georgia, Missouri, or Alabama. Those are the 3 games where I'm like, it would be crazy to me. But like if they beat Oklahoma, I wouldn't be surprised. And again, I'm very high on Brent Venables. He's a former Clemson coach. I want Oklahoma to succeed. I have Oklahoma winning, but I just looking at what Auburn's bringing back and how poor the team was last year. I think they're a lot better than they are this year. And I'm going to use this as an example. We saw Auburn and Alabama go down to the wire at the very end of the year of the game last year. Literally, Jalen Milroe to Isaiah Bond in the back of the end zone to win the game. Right. I think Auburn's team got slightly better than they were last year. And I think Alabama's team got slightly worse than they were last year.
So I'm going to say the talent disparity was much wider than the disparity in that score. But I give credence to the fact that that's a rivalry game. And that's why Auburn is able to play up and Alabama played down, because there's so much more to that game than just the level of players on. I absolutely agree with you that Auburn's probably better than they were last year. Alabama's probably a little bit worse. I will also say that Alabama is still substantially better man for man than Auburn. I will also say, so let me make the third point is, I will also say, I think all that I just said has no indication on how that game turns out this year, because it's such a rivalry game and we've seen crazy things happen in that game. And so that's why I said, yeah, I probably should have changed that one, at least in terms of my floor and ceiling, because that game, I wouldn't be surprised if Auburn won, only because we've seen that craziness happen in that game before.
So you would have your ceiling at 9-3.
Yeah, like I said, because that's the game. I do listen. Talent for talent, man for man, I think Alabama is 10 times better than Auburn. Mm-hmm. But because of the nature of that rivalry game, that's why I think I should have put a little bit more leeway and say I wouldn't be surprised if Auburn won. So that I put it as a guaranteed Alabama win, but we've seen crazy things happen in that game.
Yeah, kick six, obviously, for starters, and then last year.
We can,
but I think this is the first, I'm almost, if I'm not mistaken, I could be right. This is the first time we've been this far off this year so far in the previews as far as projection.
Absolutely. Yes.
So it's going to be fun, obviously, as the year, finishes and we come back next year to our preview to look at kind of how wrong I was or how wrong you were when it came to picking these games. Like this team could be 3-9 or they could be 10-2. And I really want to see, this is like one of the teams that was kind of hard for me to kind of look at.
So what as we're kind of talking this, and I'm sure the Auburn fans are going to flame me. Again, Jarquez Hunter is a very good running back. And maybe when you add these receivers, and we talked about them, Keandre Lambert-Smith, Cam Coleman, and again, we can go down the list. Maybe that opens up the passing game. I do want to apologize because I think your point is valid, right? I said that Peyton Thorne is horrible. He's a D1 quarterback. He's a starting D1 quarterback. And he's done this at 2 big schools. So when I say horrible, please understand, I only mean that in relation to the other teams, the other quarterbacks in his position. He's a much better quarterback than me. So I take no, but maybe he blossoms. Maybe he just did not have the weapons on the outside. And I absolutely agree that his weapons on the outside are going to be better. My concern is that the issues last year were more of an indication of him than an indication of the weapons on the outside, which means that I suspect that Keandre Lambert-Smith, Cam Coleman are not going to have great years because of the quarterback situation.
Yeah, I agree. Now, I do think if they were to have a guy like we talked about yesterday with Cam Ward, we'd be talking about this team completely differently.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I do think Peyton Thorne is going to be the Achilles heel in this and the success of this team. I think he's holding them back. And again, no disrespect to him. That's just how I think the SEC is going to play out this year. You need to have a really good quarterback in order to win.
Yes.
I don't remember the last time we had an SEC team that had a subpar quarterback win. I mean, I wouldn't say Stetson Bennett is a subpar quarterback, but that's probably the last one you could think of. So let us know in the comment section what you guys think about Auburn's season this year, what you thought about them last year, your projections for both 2023 and 2024 season. Obviously, we're probably going to get a lot of Auburn fans here, so we want to hear from you guys because you guys probably know the team a lot more than us. Obviously, I know Clemson more than my dad. My dad knows Ohio State more than me. So it's good to get the fans of the teams in here as well to correct us. Maybe we said a person's name wrong. Maybe we left somebody out.
If you correct us because of a name, I don't know these people. We don't hang out.
Or a coach that we missed, or anything like that. Let us know. Let us
know.
Also,
correct the grammar and man, you didn't say it's Jarquez. I don't care what his name is.
It's Jarquez, actually.
You know what? I know. I'm joking, but you know who I'm talking about, right? So that guy, whichever one you think I'm talking about, that's the one I'm talking about. If I mispronounced it, then you know who I'm talking about. Him.
But we'll also, like I said, be looking at the comments to see what other teams you guys want us to cover. Any other topics and stuff like that. We're gonna be going live when the season starts. But also, like I said, if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much. Like the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single upload. We're gonna be continuing to push these out. It's super fun, and we can't wait to talk more with you guys. Peace out, everybody.
Peace.